After we shared the news that I was expecting, my sister-in-law's attempt to humiliate me at my husband's party completely backfired, so much so, she ended up behind bars and on the path to divorce. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and for the past 7 years, I've been married to Luca. Honestly, I love everything about being with him, except for one major problem, his sister, Brielle. She's been nothing but a dark cloud hanging over our relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, when I first met Brielle, I thought she was great. I really did, but it didn't take long for that impression to change. Turns out, she's toxic, manipulative, and always brings a heavy dose of negativity with her. Knowing how she operates, I spent years trying to stay on her good side, putting in effort she never deserved. Before Luca and I got together, he dated the best friend of Brielle, who we also call Tori, when he was just 16. That relationship didn't last, mostly because he felt pressured into it by Brielle in the first place. Then, when he was 22 and single again, Tori tried to set him up with another friend of hers. He wasn't interested at all, but that didn't stop her from pushing. She ended up crying to their parents, whining that she just wanted him to be with someone she approved of. But his parents didn't really pay much attention to her tantrum during that whole ordeal. While Luca and I were getting to know each other and falling in love, his parents were actually very warm and supportive. Brielle, on the other hand, made it crystal clear she didn't like me. She was cold from the get-go. Whenever I was around, she'd bring up Luca's ex-girlfriends for no reason at all, bragging about how great they were doing and suggesting Luca reach out to them. She kept that up for a while. Luca noticed it too and would straight up tell her to knock it off with the ex-talk. So I wasn't the only one seeing it. Then she'd blow up, accusing me of being jealous and saying Luca deserved better than me. Whenever his parents invited us over for dinner, Tori would conveniently bump into one of his exes and invite them along. She claimed it was all by chance, but it was clear she was doing it on purpose. Even though she doesn't follow me on Instagram, I know she checks my stories religiously. I have a public account, and she's always one of the first views on anything I post. If a guy happened to comment on one of my pictures, she'd run to Luca and act like I was putting up inappropriate photos. We'd just laugh it off because her complaints were so ridiculous. When Luca and I decided to move in together, she flat out told him to break up with me. She said I had too many flaws as a woman and that she could find someone way better for him. That cut deep, especially because I had only ever been polite to her. Things got even worse once Luca proposed. After we announced our engagement, everyone was clapping and congratulating us, but not Brielle. She just sat there in silence. Then suddenly, she got up from her chair and stormed out of the room without saying a word. Later, she called Luca in tears, screaming about how hurt she was that we didn't tell her privately before sharing the news with everyone else. She claimed she was the closest person to him and deserved to hear it first. Not long after, she sent me a message that honestly felt borderline threatening. She was trying to tell me how I should treat her brother, as if she was still the only woman in his life. The message gave me chills. I didn't even respond. I just left it on read, which I'm sure only made her angrier. After that, every time she saw me, she acted like I didn't exist. Still, for some reason, she kept inserting herself into every part of the wedding planning, showing up for dress shopping and even my bridal shower. She never had anything nice to say, though. Despite my future mother-in-law and Luca both confronting her multiple times, she openly criticized every choice I made. One day, she overheard me talking with my mother-in-law about the table centerpieces. Without missing a beat, she jumped in to say how tacky my choices were and how that's exactly why she always wanted her brother to marry someone better. That was my breaking point. I snapped. I told her flat out she was no longer invited to our wedding and yelled that I was done putting up with her non-stop insults and drama. She looked completely stunned, gasping like she couldn't believe I'd finally stood up to her. Even my mother-in-law was furious with her and took my side. Later that night, Brielle called Luca again, whining about how I humiliated her and insisting he should control his wife. But Luca stood firm. He told her he had my back completely, and unless she made things right, she wouldn't be welcome at the wedding. Eventually, she sent me what seemed like a sincere apology over text. I read it, then left it on read again. I was exhausted with wedding prep and just didn't have the energy to entertain more of her nonsense. In the end, I let her come to the wedding not because I wanted her there, but because I knew she'd spin it into some kind of sob story if she wasn't invited. Everyone else respected our theme, soft pinks and pastels, but Tori showed up looking like she was headed to a funeral. She wore a black, floor-length dress with an actual veil. We were speechless. She went around telling guests how heartbroken she was to be losing her brother to another woman. At the reception, Luca finally had enough and pulled her aside to ask why she was making such a scene. She played the victim, saying she had every right to wear what she wanted and accusing me of being controlling. Her antics didn't stop, and eventually, both my mother-in-law and father-in-law told her to leave. It was beyond embarrassing. Ever since that day, I've kept my distance. When our son Eli was born, I made it clear that Brielle wasn't allowed anywhere near him. She tried to fight it, but Luca's parents stood by me. They understood exactly why I didn't want her near my baby. A couple of years ago, Brielle had a miscarriage with her boyfriend Colin, and it really broke her. It was a tough time for everyone, no doubt. Luca and I, being new parents ourselves, felt terrible for what she went through. After Brielle's miscarriage, we decided to be a little more compassio Eli. We figured maybe it had changed her. So, we started letting her come over and spend time with our son Eli. To my surprise, she was actually really sweet with him, which was the last thing I expected given how she'd treated me. At first, I genuinely thought she'd turned a new leaf. But over time, it became clear she was slipping right back into her old patterns. She constantly talked about how hard her life was, how nothing ever went her way, and always blamed other people, old friends, former bosses, anyone but herself for everything wrong in her world. After a while, I realized Brielle never sees herself as the problem. She's always looking for sympathy, spinning everything to make herself the victim. You'll never hear her take accountability in any argument. Earlier this year, she decided to get married. She sent out invites to just about everyone, except us. That really threw Luca off. Things between all of us had seemed better lately, so he was shocked when we didn't get an invite. When we asked her why, she didn't hesitate. She flat out said she didn't want me there because I might disrupt her wedding. That one hit a nerve. I called her up myself and asked, point blank, why she'd think I would ever cause a scene at her wedding. That's when she admitted she had worn black on purpose to ours, and now she was scared I might try to do something similar to her. The logic was wild. I was furious. I told Luca exactly what I thought, that she was being manipulative, as usual. After talking it over with his parents, Luca made the decision to tell Brielle they wouldn't be attending her wedding either, and that they weren't going to help pay for it. That sent Brielle into a meltdown. She broke down crying and immediately pointed the finger at me, saying I was the one who started all of this. But even her own fiancé, Colin, stepped in and told her it wasn't fair to blame me. After all, she had openly admitted to what she did. Brielle tried to brush it all off by saying I should just get over it. It had been years since our wedding, after all. But that wasn't the point. Later, she messaged me to apologize and asked if we could move on. Apparently, her parents were still refusing to pay for the wedding unless she made things right. And I'll admit, when Brielle wants something, she can be pretty damn charming. It's a skill of hers. In the spirit of moving forward, I chose to forgive her. Her wedding to Colin actually went smoothly, and everyone had a good time. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we had turned a corner. But not even 6 months later, Brielle was back at our door, venting about how her marriage was falling apart. We let her stay with us for a few days, and during that time, she just wouldn't stop unloading on us about her problems with Colin. They were struggling to conceive, and of course, she blamed Colin for everything. When I tried to talk to her about it, she was adamant. This was all his fault, not hers. And when she wasn't complaining about Colin, she'd turn her attention toward us. It was like she couldn't help but stir things up. Take this for example. Most mornings before work, I hit the gym. If I'm running late, I'll pack my work clothes so I can shower and change there. No big deal, right? Well, Brielle started noticing and began asking all sorts of weird questions, like why I needed to shower or why I even bothered going to the gym at all. I didn't think much of it and just explained I like to stay in shape and don't enjoy showing up to the office sweaty. She'd usually nod and lick her lips in this odd, unreadable way. One day, while we were all having lunch, my mother-in-law mentioned a friend of hers who was going through a divorce. The friend had left her cheating husband and walked away with half his stuff. Brielle suddenly cut in and asked Luca if we had signed a prenup. That brought everything to a halt. Luca and I just stared at her. It was like I wasn't even in the room. She looked straight at Luca, waiting for an answer. Calmly, he told her that no, we didn't sign one, because we both do well financially, and we trust each other. Then Brielle let out this dramatic snort and started talking about how he could be blindsided one day, that cheating is everywhere now. Her words hit me hard. I asked her flat out what she was trying to say. That's when she dropped the bomb. She accused me of cheating, said I was always carrying extra clothes like I was sneaking around, and claimed it was her duty as his sister to warn him. I was stunned. It felt like someone had knocked the wind out of me. Thankfully, Luca's parents arrived at that exact moment and quickly stepped in to shut her down. They told her she had no right to interfere in our marriage or make up stories. But she wouldn't stop. She just kept talking, saying she was only trying to protect her brother. And then, like it wasn't already enough, she joked about whether Eli was even Luca's son, claiming he didn't look like him. I will never forget the look on Luca's face in that moment. He went red with fury. I've never seen him that angry, not in all the years I've known him. He looked Brielle dead in the eyes and said, "You're not a mother, and you don't deserve to be one. Any child would be better off in heaven than with someone like you." Brielle just froze, mouth open, completely speechless. My mother-in-law and father-in-law stood silently, not saying a word. Luca stormed off after that, leaving Brielle sitting there, still trying to play the victim, rambling about how I ruined everything just because her life was falling apart. He told her she was pathetic, that she spent all day doing nothing while her husband worked himself to the bone. That instead of projecting her misery onto me, she should take a good look at her own failing marriage. Brielle broke down crying, turning to Colin for comfort. But he just sat there. He didn't say a word. Luca never loses his cool like that. But this time, he had every reason to. Eventually, Brielle got up and ran to the bathroom, sobbing. I sat there beside Luca, holding his hand. My mother-in-law came over and tried to calm him down. He apologized for what his sister had said about our son, and I just nodded, totally understanding. After everything we've been through, I was actually relieved to see him finally stand up to her like that. He didn't just defend me, he defended our family. Once things calmed down, Luca apologized to Colin, but he didn't say a single word to Brielle. That pretty much summed it up. He was done. From that day on, we cut off all contact with her. Her behavior hadn't just worn me down, it had really started affecting Luca too. After lunch, my mother-in-law and father-in-law pulled us aside and said what we were all thinking. Brielle had gone way too far this time. They said it was obvious how much she had pushed Luca, especially since he's usually the calm, quiet type. Seeing him explode like that shook them. That blow-up was the last time we spoke to her. It's been a full year, and honestly, life's been peaceful without her around. Then, 2 months ago, I found out I was pregnant again. Totally unexpected, we weren't even trying, but such a sweet surprise. Luca and I felt incredibly blessed to be growing our little family. We decided to share the news at Luca's birthday party. His parents were throwing a big celebration in their backyard, just a cozy get-together with close friends and family. It felt like the right moment. Somehow, word about the party got around, and Brielle decided to show up. The moment we saw her, both Luca and I were caught completely off guard. She walked up and hugged Luca, telling him she missed him and was sorry about how things ended between them. Luca, staying calm, took my hand and told her if she truly wanted to make amends, she should apologize to me, especially after everything she accused me of. Brielle nodded and turned to me. She apologized and told me she'd been in therapy for the past few months. She said she'd come to realize how poorly she'd treated me. Now, I didn't agree with everything she said, but I nodded anyway. I wanted to be civil, especially since this party was for Luca. His parents came over to quietly check on us and let us know they didn't even know Brielle would be there. They offered to ask her to leave if we weren't comfortable. But Luca didn't want to make a scene, so we let it slide. Brielle, oddly enough, seemed in great spirits. She was laughing and mingling like nothing had ever happened. I figured maybe therapy really had made a difference. She was acting almost too cheerful. It didn't feel like the Brielle I knew, but I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Later, when it was time for cake, Luca stood up and gave the sweetest little speech. He said he felt like the luckiest man in the world and was grateful to spend another year with a woman like me. I blushed so hard. Even after all these years, we're still as in love as we were at the beginning. After the cake, we announced our big news. We were having another baby. There was a beat of silence, and then the whole place erupted with excitement. My mom ran up, hugged me tight, and started crying. Dean got choked up, saluting Luca with tears in his eyes. Everyone was thrilled, asking about baby names and showering us with love. Everyone, that is, except Brielle. She stood off to the side, looking like someone had smacked her. Her expression shifted fast, and without saying a word, she turned away. I figured maybe she just needed a moment to process the news. Part of me was worried she might start something, but people kept coming over to chat, and I got distracted. At one point, I tried to help my in-laws with lunch, but my family and Miles insisted I sit and take it easy. While I was sitting and waiting for Luca to bring me a plate, Brielle came over, all smiles. She was beaming, saying how excited she was about the pregnancy. She handed me a dish and said she wanted to serve me personally to make up for the way she'd treated me in the past. I smiled politely and thanked her. She turned and walked off. But just as I was about to dig in, I noticed something that stopped me cold. There were shrimp on the plate. I'm severely allergic to shrimp. I've mentioned it many times before, so I was honestly stunned that Brielle, of all people, would be the one to hand me a dish with it. Disappointed, I quietly got up to get my own plate. That's when Colin walked over to congratulate me on the pregnancy. After a little small talk, he noticed I wasn't eating and asked about it. I explained that Brielle had given me a dish with shrimp, probably by mistake, and I didn't want to take any chances. Colin, ever laid back, laughed and said he loved shrimp, so he'd eat the plate instead, and I could grab a fresh one. I said sure, smiled, and turned away. Barely 5 minutes later, Colin started coughing hard. Then came the gagging. He was clutching his stomach, clearly in pain. Conversation stopped as everyone turned to watch him stumble up from the table. Luca and Brielle rushed over to help. Colin was struggling to speak, pointing at his plate and then at his throat. It was obvious something was seriously wrong. Then he collapsed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Brielle darted over to check the plate, and I saw her face twist in shock. She turned toward me and asked, almost accusingly, if I had given Colin my plate. I nodded, confused and starting to panic. Someone called 911, and the paramedics arrived fast. Colin was rushed to the hospital. Through it all, Brielle was crying nonstop, but glaring at me the entire time. Later, we found out Colin had been poisoned. The food he ate, my plate, was tampered with. That news made me go cold. That could have been me. Worse, it could have harmed my unborn child. No one else, not Luca, not my in-laws, not my parents, knows this yet. No one really knew what was in that plate that made Colin collapse the way he did, so the police were called in to collect evidence from it. Meanwhile, Luca and I have been answering nonstop phone calls from concerned family members, everyone trying to figure out what happened, who might have tampered with Colin's food, and how things went so wrong so fast. What was supposed to be a joyful day turned into something nobody could have seen coming. My in-laws, shaken and scared, are now sleeping over at our house. They're too rattled to even go home. This whole thing has left everyone reeling. It scares me, truly, to even think about telling people that the plate originally belonged to me. That Brielle gave it to me, smiling. If this turns into an investigation, I'll have to be honest with the police. I'll have to explain that what was meant for me ended up hurting someone else. And worse, what if it had harmed my baby? Right now, my biggest fear is Brielle herself. I don't trust her. I don't feel safe around her. I definitely won't let her near my children ever again. There's no telling what she's capable of, and what happened at the party proved she has no boundaries, not even when it comes to something as serious as poisoning food. I keep going over it in my head. I can't stop thinking about how I handed Colin that plate. I didn't mean to. I thought I was just avoiding an allergy scare. Now I'm wondering, what if that had been me? I typed all this earlier with shaky hands. I haven't really slept since it happened. And even with everyone saying I shouldn't blame myself, there's a small part of me that still does. I keep thinking, why didn't I just toss the plate? Why did I let Colin take it? I should have known better. I should have been more careful. I cry just thinking about what this could mean for his health, his future. Luca's been staying close, hovering around me. He knows something's up. He thinks I'm just anxious about the whole situation, but he doesn't know everything, not yet. Some of you said I should sit down and talk it all through with the family, and you're right. I'm nervous they won't believe me, but my in-laws have security cameras around their house. The birthday party was held in their backyard, so there's a real chance we'll find proof of Brielle handing me that plate. I'm going to speak to everyone tonight. We talked. And let me tell you, I am unbelievably lucky to have the in-laws I do. With my ML and FL already staying over, I decided to bring everything up during dinner. I told Luca I needed to share something serious, and we all sat down together. I took a deep breath, the weight of it all sitting heavy in my chest, and I walked them through everything. From the moment Brielle handed me the plate, to Colin falling ill, to how it all came crashing down. Their faces said it all: shock, confusion, horror. Luca looked stunned at first, his expression shifting from disbelief to full-blown rage as I kept talking. My mother-in-law and father-in-law just stared at each other, completely blindsided. I explained how deeply worried I was about Brielle's intentions, especially considering everything she's done in the past. I hesitated, of course. I didn't want to cause any more pain. But MIL, ever practical, immediately said we needed to check the security footage. FL agreed without a second thought. When they pulled up the video from their camera app, there it was clear as day. The footage showed Brielle walking up and handing me the plate. The same plate that later ended up with Colin. The same one that sent him to the hospital. There was no denying it anymore. Luca's face turned red again, jaw tight, eyes full of fire. He was trying so hard to keep it together. ML and FL were just heartbroken. To see their daughter go to these lengths, to see how far she was willing to go, it broke them. They've decided to hand everything over to the police. Colin is the one who'll have to press charges, but FIL and Luca plan to visit him once he's better and let him know everything. As for me, I still can't stop thinking about how close I came to letting that happen to myself and my unborn child. I don't know how Colin will react when he finds out. I just hope he recovers fully. I haven't been able to eat or sleep since. So here it is: Brielle was arrested. Once the police reviewed the footage, my in-laws handed it over. Brielle didn't even try to deny it. She confessed right away. She cried, sure, but there was no hiding from the truth anymore. Colin was just as shocked as the rest of us when Luca sat down and told him everything. Luca made it clear that Colin would always be family, no matter what decision he made from here on out. But he also told him, with love, that he should press charges because what Brielle did wasn't just messed up. It was evil. When Colin recovered, he made up his mind. He pressed charges and filed for divorce. Of course, once she realized what she'd lost, Brielle started calling her parents, crying and begging for forgiveness. That's when she dropped another bomb. She's pregnant too. She tried to guilt-trip them into bailing her out for the sake of their granddaughter. She's still trying to play the same manipulative game she always has. But this time, nobody's playing along. My father-in-law didn't sugarcoat it. He told Brielle flat out that it was time she finally faced the consequences of her actions, and that the days of everyone tiptoeing around her were over. As for my mother-in-law, she's heartbroken. You can see how much this has crushed her. But deep down, she knows what her daughter did can't just be brushed aside with an apology. The police were able to confirm that Brielle had tampered with the food, clearly intended to harm me, but instead, it ended up hurting her own husband. That alone was enough to land her multiple charges: reckless endangerment, food tampering, and intent to cause bodily harm, just to name a few. In a final, desperate move, Brielle started pleading with Colin, begging him not to press charges. She even had the nerve to say it was all my fault. Thankfully, Colin didn't waver. He was firm in his decision to see this through. Her court date is just around the corner now, and I honestly don't see any way out for her this time. Eli and I are both doing well. He doesn't know anything about what's happened with his aunt, and for now, we're keeping it that way. But Luca and I have talked it through, and we know that when the time is right, we'll have to sit down with him and explain everything in a way he can understand. It's going to be a tough conversation, but we both agree it's one that needs to happen. As for the pregnancy, I'm getting ultrasounds every 2 weeks, just being extra careful under my doctor's advice. We're keeping the baby's gender a surprise, which adds a little excitement to everything. My parents have become very protective of me lately, especially since all this happened. They've gently encouraged me to get some therapy, worried this stress might affect my mental health during the pregnancy. And honestly, they're probably right. Even though I'm holding it together on the outside, there's a deep fear I haven't quite shaken. I find myself avoiding food I didn't make myself. I can't eat anything unless I know exactly where it came from or who touched it. It's irrational, maybe, but it's real. Thankfully, Luca understands. He's been supporting me every step of the way, and I'm hoping with time, I'll get past this fear. Brielle is now behind bars. After my in-laws turned over the video footage, the police arrested her. And when it came time to face the court, Brielle didn't deny a thing. She admitted to everything and broke down crying in front of the judge. My in-laws kept me updated on how things went, though I didn't attend the hearings myself. According to them, Brielle finally came clean, said she'd spent years resenting me. She confessed that she'd always wanted one of her close friends to marry Luca, and when he chose me instead, she couldn't stand the idea of an outsider being part of the family. She admitted she was furious when we announced our pregnancy at Luca's birthday party, especially since she had been planning to reveal her own pregnancy that same day. After losing a baby before, she wanted a special moment. But when we made our announcement first, she felt like we had stolen her spotlight. She said the rage, mixed with pregnancy hormones, pushed her over the edge. She confessed to slipping a small amount of rat poison into the food she gave me. Her plan, she claimed, was only to make me sick enough to land in the hospital, not to harm the baby or me. But her plan backfired, and Colin paid the price. Brielle tried to argue for a lighter sentence, saying it wasn't fair because I handed Colin the dish, and I was the one who poisoned her husband. Of course, the judge didn't buy that. She was sentenced, and she'll be away from our lives for a long time. Colin, meanwhile, is finally free. He divorced her and has started moving forward. We've stayed close. He comes to family gatherings when he's up for it, and we always make sure he knows he's welcome. I had a long talk with him recently. I apologized, again, for handing him that plate. I told him I'd replayed it in my head 1,000 times, wishing I'd done something differently, wishing I hadn't let it happen. He told me it was never my fault. Not once. Hearing that brought tears to my eyes. I needed to hear it more than I realized. He's doing better now, and that means the world to me. As for us, our family is growing. We welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world not long ago. Her arrival brought light into our lives, even with the dark shadows of the past still lingering a bit. Eli is absolutely over the moon about being a big brother. He's gentle and kind with her, always asking to hold her hand or sing her songs. Watching them together, it fills my heart in a way I can't quite put into words. Our parents on both sides have been incredible. We've leaned on them, and they've held us up through every step of this journey.